craft that comes here and picks up cattle without permission and mutilates them and then drops the carcasses back in, to basically, doing whatever they want to do with impunity. One, they abduct women, and I've talked to abductees. They go in and into their reproductive organs and take eggs, and it's very painful. All sorts of weird stuff. The alien implants, the whole alien, and we talked about this earlier, George. Dr. Jacobs talks about it. I mean, these are not what they say they are. These are not friendly ET. This whole thing, in my opinion, is part of the Great Deception. These are demonic entities masquerading as so-called ET, and they're part of they are the Great Deception that I believe is coming.
I'm going to read you a headline that I just picked up off of the Israeli website, and it says, Israel carries out large-scale rehearsal over Greece of possible airstrikes against Iran.
That's the one. That's the one you were talking about. That's the one I was reading earlier. That's the one. Yep.
Over Greece. I guess they had Greece's permission. Huh?
They had Greece's permission because that gave them a 900-mile window that they needed to simulate an attack on Iran, because it's about 900 miles from Israel to where the reactor is in Iran. So there it is.
Let's go to Robin in Oakland, California, west of the Rockies. Hi, Robin. Go ahead.
Good morning, George. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Oh, great. You do a wonderful program. You've gotten me through many a night. And hi, Lynn. How are you?
I'm great. Nice hearing your voice, Robin. How you doing?
I'm fine. I wanted to ask, I think I had the opportunity to speak with you a couple of times ago about Tuesday Lobsang Rampa.
Okay.
Do you recall that?
Not offhand, no.
Well, he is a Tibetan priest, and his books are, you can get them usually they're out of print, but you can get them. But his book, The Hermit, talks exactly about the kind of thing that you are speaking of as far as the interstellar travel. There is one God who that all creation recognizes, and it does talk about the fall of Satan and Prince Satan and how this is a battlefront planet. But anyway, if you have the opportunity, Rampa, Tuesday Lobsang Rampa, to check into him, you'll find it very interesting. What I quickly wanted to ask you about was two things. One of them is that, George, I'm like you and like Lynn, I would never have an implant put in, but if somebody came to you and said, or even without your knowledge, like we were discussing this thing where they're testing military people for medical things and not letting them know, if someone said, they now have come out with a thing where 1 in 5 men will get prostate cancer, and if they said, here's a vaccine and you won't get prostate cancer, would you take the vaccine?
Well, I'm not a vaccine guy.
I'm not either, but, it's kind of like, what if it came in the guise of a health thing and a good thing rather than a fear thing? And they're so tiny, they're so minuscule. I'm just throwing that out. What would you think, Lynn?
Good question. I think it'll be very deliberate, though. I think we'll know what it is in the sense that, again, the prophecy is very deliberate. It says that no man will be able to buy, sell, or trade without the mark.
Right.
So this will replace our currency, including credit cards that we have. I mean, currency is just paper. That's all it is. It's worthless. It's just paper. It's not backed up by gold. It's just paper. That's all it is. We all agree that we're going to use this stuff, but it's paper. And gold's too heavy to carry around. And credit cards, the identity theft is through the roof. So in a way, it seems like a really good thing. I'll get this thing. No one can duplicate it. It stops pretty much all identity theft. And, off we go which will be used by the Antichrist to enslave everyone. See, it's actually a good idea when you think about it. Digital Angel is a great idea. I mean, it could stop identity theft. But it will be used, in my opinion, by the Antichrist to enslave the race.
Do you think that the folks with the creators of Digital Angel knew what they were doing?
Boy, that's a good question. In fact, I probably should make a phone call, see if I can get an interview. That would be a fascinating question.
Yep. And if they knew what they were doing,
why?
Who helped them and why?
Who helped them, exactly.
Sometimes I've always wondered, Lynn, if leaders read the book of Revelation and create episodes to match it.
Good question. I mean, we look at part of my book, the whole idea of this of a Luciferian dialectic is, conflict, counter-conflict, and synthesis. And I believe 9/11 was the conflict. The counter-conflict to that is the Afghan war and the war in Iraq. Babylon, the ancient city of Babylon, is in Iraq. You never hear about that. And the synthesis will be when the Al-Maliki government, this is all conjecture, the Al-Maliki government will basically crumble. They will need a strong man. He will set up his kingdom in Babylon. He'll resurrect that ancient city.
We'll be back with final phone calls in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. Well, on our next Coast to Coast program, first hour, Dr. Wayne Dyer joins us, talking about some of his great things that he's worked on. And then our Friday into Saturday morning open lines, and then maybe a special visit by the great Cornholio. No, I'm only kidding. Back in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. Lynn, how many cities, if this occurs, will have these huge objects overhead?
Good question. I would assume that it would be enough to create a very fearful global presence. Once again, I would say New York. I'm just guessing. New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Houston, London,
Moscow,
possibly, sure.
China, yeah. Beijing,
every place.
Yeah, all the big ones.
Tokyo, probably all the big cities. I mean, if this happens. If I'm right and this thing happens, it'll be so overwhelming. Remember, go back to Ricky Searles. He's a guy that's allegedly seen a 1.5 mile wide craft.
Well, and what about the Phoenix Lights?
Same
Thousands
thing.
of people.
Thousands of people saw those. And their world is rocked. I mean, I saw that the Larry King interview when you were on, and they had the one skeptic and the two girls.
Yeah, Michael Shermer, the skeptic.
Unbelievable. And the two seniors say, "We wish you were there. It wasn't aircraft, and we couldn't see the stars. It was one huge, gigantic craft." And their world's been rocked. I mean, I don't know about their worldview if it's changed, but it seemed like that event did something to them, and that's. Once again, it goes back into the scripture. I talk about this in my book, Politics, Prophecy, and the Supernatural, but it goes back into that prophecy, the whole idea of this one world religious system, which begs the question, how are you going to get people to believe in something else than what they already believe in? And people who have seen this stuff up close and personal, it usually is earth-shattering, worldview shattering to them.
Let's go to our wild card line. We've got you, Donna, in Lexington, Kentucky. Hi.
Yeah, hey guys, how are you doing tonight?
Hi, Donna, great.
Great. Quick 3 questions. I'm having an Oprah, aha moment with you on, Lynn, and I'm honored actually to talk to you.
No, the honor's all mine, Donna.
No, you don't know, because I know that you're guided, by a truth, and you're very careful with us, and by that I mean the public. Saying, of course, in my theory, you preface everything. But I feel like, I'll tell you quite frankly, gentlemen, you're talking to a contactee and a multiple contactee starting at the age of 5, where my friend came every other night. You sit with your mom and your dad and your structure and your guidance and the people that love you. And you say, Mom, can you have a dream every night? And, you've got this friend and he tells you, and that no, of course one cannot have those things. So you learn to isolate, which you've been talking about. And I followed, I think, in your footsteps, Lynn. I turned inward and found what feels to be my truth, and you are actually relating the archaeological, the theological, the bringing it all together, the coming through New Age and occult, back to a deception, a Luciferian deception. My big question, or 3 quick questions. How did you find your catalyst? I read your website, Lynn. What was your aha moment when it all came together? Like when you tied it up with a bow. Do you guys want me to ask each quick 3 questions, or do you want me to?
Let's go one at a time here.
Yeah.
Okay, George.
My aha moment was I kind of hit the wall when I was 30 years old. I had been involved in many metaphysical practices. I had been living in an ashram with a guru. My third eye was opened. I come from occult roots in the sense of silver mind control, spirit guides, lots of New Age stuff. And all those practices to me were bankrupt in the sense that they never changed something. They never changed my, let's say, spirit man, my insides.